Good Wednesday morning. Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Michelle Beck. Breaking news this morning. Target CEO Brian Cornell announcing he'll step down from the struggling retailer in February and that its COO will take his place. Cornell has led the company for 11 years. The company even eliminating a policy to require him to retire at 65 when they extended his contract in 2022. He'll transition to executive chair of the board. COO Michael Fidelki will take his place. He says he is ready to reclaim the company's merchandising authority. Also this morning, a committee of lawmakers will be meeting to discuss safety changes at and around the state capitol. It is the first meeting since two lawmakers and their families were shot at their homes and a man was arrested for trespassing at the Capitol. The Advisory Committee on Capitol Area Security makes recommendations to the governor and the legislature about all things security at the People's House. The lieutenant governor leads this group of 6. Her office didn't get back to me yesterday about the specifics of what we can expect, but right here their agenda tells us they'll be taking public comment. The committee meets every quarter, and most recently its website shows that meeting was in April. Just yesterday, the governor said lawmakers must be safe yet still accessible to the public.
If you have to walk through one door and you have to walk through a metal detector and you can't be carrying a gun, I don't think that prohibits you from doing everything you need to do.
According to the committee's most recent report in January, crime rates around the Capitol were, quote, historically low compared to nearby areas of St. Paul. Despite that, members wrote, quote, vulnerabilities are continually evaluated. New this morning, State Representative Kristen Robbins has announced her run for governor.
As governor, I'll stop the insanity, bring back common sense, and make Minnesota work for you. Lower taxes, safer streets, better schools. And no more creepy experiments on our kids.
Well, right now, she represents District 37A in the House, including the western part of Maple Grove, Corcoran, Hamel, and Medina. The DFL party released a statement saying in part, quote, a Kristen Robbins governorship would be disastrous for working-class Minnesotans. They said, quote, she has a long-standing history of turning her back on those who need our support now more than ever. That election takes place November 2026. New overnight, we've learned a strike by 1,400 U of M union workers has been delayed for now. It was set to start at midnight, but union leaders are taking a vote on, quote, the last, best, and final offer. Writing on their Facebook page, the negotiating committee is unanimously recommending a no vote. The service workers, including those in maintenance and food service, say the university is offering them a 3% wage increase, less than the 3.5% offered to other workers on campus. The university says they want to avoid a strike because it would harm the community, including employees. Right now, 3 teens are behind bars following a series of recent car break-ins. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara says officers spotted a stolen car on surveillance cameras that Brooklyn Park police were looking for in connection to car thefts there. Police say they stopped the car and chased 3 people inside before taking them into custody. The police chief saying the department assigned 36 community service officers to stay in the neighborhood to help those affected.
So while the progress that we have today is encouraging, we know there is a lot of work still ahead. Our officers are working tirelessly to try and stop this crime spree.
Police also seized 2 stolen cars. The teens were booked on suspicion of auto theft while police investigate their connection to recent break-ins. The chief says all 3 are known to police. Meanwhile, in Golden Valley, police are investigating at least 15 car break-ins at apartment complex parking lots. These happened early yesterday morning near Laurel Avenue and Turner's Crossroad. Officers will be doing extra overnight patrols. They're reminding everyone to lock their cars and not leave anything valuable in sight. Brand new video this morning showing a massive explosion in Wilmington, North Carolina. Police say a man is in custody for causing this explosion by crashing into the building. Investigators say that man is charged with DWI, possession of drug paraphernalia, and hit and run. 4 firefighters were hurt while fighting that fire. Also, new video this morning showing a massive fire at a fuel site in Ukraine after Russian attacks overnight. Russia still slamming Ukraine even as the Kremlin signals it is open to negotiations to end a 3.5-year-long war there. Right now, the White House says it is trying to arrange a face-to-face between Presidents Putin and Zelensky. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
Hi there. The White House is already looking into potential locations and dates for a summit between Presidents Putin and Zelensky, as President Trump said U.S. troops won't secure Ukraine's future peace on the ground, but could by air. On the front lines of eastern Ukraine, relentless Russian strikes underscoring what's at stake as the White House seeks a location for a face-to-face meeting between Ukraine's President Zelensky and Russia's President Putin.
And then after that meeting, if everything works out, okay, I'll meet and we'll wrap it up.
Finding where to meet, no easy task, with Putin facing arrest for war crime charges and many countries party to the International Criminal Court. A White House official telling NBC News President Trump spoke with Hungary's leader and that Budapest is being considered, as well as Geneva. Russia has yet to publicly confirm Putin will meet with Zelensky, though the White House says he agreed to. Ukraine and European allies worried Putin will play for time are pressing for an immediate ceasefire, rather than the broad peace deal President Trump favors following his Putin summit in Alaska. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff defending the approach.
A ceasefire deal is very, very easy to break, because it doesn't have all the ingredients attached to it.
Also noting the importance of guarantees for Ukraine's future security, though President Trump now says the U.S. will not send ground troops to join a European peacekeeping force, while not ruling out military support from the air.
It is an option and a possibility.
As the president acknowledges he can't be sure Putin is ready to end the war.
I think Putin is tired of it. I think they're all tired of it, but you never know. It's possible that he doesn't want to make a deal.
Looming unknowns on the path to peace. U.S. and NATO military officials meeting today to discuss security guarantees. Russia has said any peacekeeping effort that includes troops from NATO member nations in Ukraine would be unacceptable. President Trump also ruling out NATO membership for Ukraine. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
This morning, a new vision is coming into focus for George Floyd Square. During an open house last night, the city unveiled renderings for the first time of an intersection closed off to traffic. It comes after months of tense back and forth between some Minneapolis City Council members and Mayor Frey. A city staff member saying last night's open house was a chance for the community to better understand the concept of a pedestrian plaza, which would close the area to most traffic and preserve the space as a memorial.
We've tried to be really intentional of listening to everybody, and although this work is more prescriptive, as I've said, related to state statute and very technical, we wanted to make sure to set up this engagement event so people didn't think we were just doing this behind the scenes and adding an extra layer of transparency.
The next step here is for the city to present its findings about the pedestrian plaza and community feedback to the City Council on December 4th. Beyond that, there's no real timeline as to when a decision will be made or when construction would begin. We are one day out from the Great Minnesota Get-Together, and there are plenty of ways for everyone to get in on the fun. Audrey Russo is at the fairgrounds with details.
The goal is to expand accessibility across the board this year, so they're actually boosting some programs that they already had here at the Minnesota State Fair, plus they're implementing some new features, particularly for those with mobility limitations. So let's dive right in. First and foremost, the 5,000-seat Warner Coliseum has added some new wheelchair ramps and expanded their accessible seating section. The fair is also expanding the hours. For their American Sign Language program, interpreters with bright purple shirts and signs will now be on site until 7 p.m. The fair's guest services supervisor says there will be more audio descriptions of fine art exhibits for those who are blind, an additional breastfeeding location, and a sensory-friendly space.
We talk a lot about being the Great Minnesota Get Together, and we are not being that unless we're actually being accessible to everybody. And if that means our services only affect a small number of them, it still means that we're fulfilling that mission of bringing Minnesotans together and being a space for everybody.
If you are planning on going to the fair, today is the last day to buy discounted tickets online and at Cub Foods. $17 versus $20. I know I like to save $3. I'm sure you do too. Back to you.
Okay, we will be there for opening day. Do stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.